Hello, welcome today to Whiskey Friday. Today we are talking about setting yourself up for sales success 2016. I'm going to welcome Didier to the call as well. Curtis, what are you drinking today?
Oh, I just got a new one. I went out and it's called Hepburn's Choice.
Nice.
Distilled in it's Hepburn's Choice. I don't know if you ever had that one before.
Good.
It's like only 182 bottles of it made. It's like 11 years, I guess 14 years now.
Nice. I'm rocking the Writer's Tears. Right? Get sad when I write. Oh, man, that's delicious. Didier, what's going on, brother?
Rocking some coffee.
Oh, I got the espresso here, so I'm double fisted.
It looks like you need some coffee there.
It's the coffee that does that to your hair.
Looks like you need some coffee.
No, do I sound okay?
What's that? You sound wonderful. How's it going?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Happy to be here.
That's it. I'm happy to have you. You're going to add some cool insight to this today. Man, we've been having some fun with this Whiskey Friday. This is now episode 9 or week 9 or whatever it was. It's starting the new year, and it's getting some cool traction. And it's a cool sort of discussion piece. One of the things that was sort of coming up through the holiday was people were just saying, how do I make it a lot easier? Like, what do I need to do? Like, rather than all of the hundreds of things I need to do, for my sales process or for getting customers, can we keep it a lot simpler? And so that's kind of what I wanted to touch on today. It's like this kind of, and there's going to be a bunch of people that join here and kind of almost demystify the sales process to make it a lot easier, just to make it a lot more. For me, I just love having fun with it. I love talking to people, helping them do stuff. And at some point, that people pay money, and that's pretty much all it is. And so what I wanted to do today was kind of chat with you guys about that, is how do we simplify things, how to make it a lot easier, how do we sort of, as we move into the beginning of the year, is to really go after, I hate the word the resolutions. I'm working on something right now. It's like resolutions is just like a long complicated word for regret. Right? Because people, if they're like, they have regret, so they have to now make these resolutions. So for me, I come into the new year not really regretting anything, but just looking at it through a different lens and saying, what do I need to do to really focus on the right stuff? Because there's no shortage of things that we got to do every day. And so that's where people are getting sort of caught up and doing too many things. And that's what I wanted to sort of keep the topic of today, is really keeping things simple. How do we sell? How do we go and kick some ass? So Didier, how about you start, brother? We'll get you to start.
I think, for me, the best example is as a boxer, when you go into the ring, people don't realize this, but when you're in the ring, the other guy is not scared, but is as aware of you as you are of him. Mm-hmm. You go into the ring, if you're going to the ring stressed out, bro, the other guy's as stressed out as you are, but you don't think about it. You're just thinking about yourself and in your mind and in your head. But as a sales process, if you take into consideration that the person you're approaching, the person you're going to, they have the same defense up that you have. And it's just a matter of fact of taking into consideration that just breathe and relax, because it will help both you guys realize, okay, we're on the same level and we're just trying to get the same thing done.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make you happy and you're trying to be happy.
And you're not in the ring. I want you to be happy when I punch you in the face. But yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. That's a good insight, man. So what are some of the things that you're doing because you're doing now, you've been running your business for a while, and what are some of the things when you're going and pitching your idea, your product to potential customers, vendors, what's some of the stuff that you found that keeps it easy for you to set yourself up consistently in your conversations?
What I do with Clash of Arrows, if people don't know what Clash of Arrows is, it's kind of like a game of dodgeball, but with bows and arrows, and the arrows are foam tipped. So you have a mask on and you shoot each other with bows and arrows. So essentially, a lot of people want to do birthday parties or events, and little gatherings like that. Yeah. And yesterday we had an event at Camosun, and we had about 60 people come. Mm-hmm. So what we try and do is facilitate for them, because we don't want to charge them too much. So what we always tell them is we create a little package for them. We'll create a tournament. We kind of fill in the little bubbles where they would end up thinking about, how are we going to do this? How is it going to cost them work? Mm-hmm. So we just try and really facilitate their thinking process. So we just tell them, you're going to have fun. You're going to have a blast. We're going to manage everything and just get them comfortable and happy.
Yeah, Olga's asking why she can't hear anything. I would say turn on your speakers. I can hear you guys just fine. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Olga,
Yeah,
Olga, you got a problem.
both
That's
of you.
all it is. But yeah, no, that I like what you're saying there, man. It's like, and Curtis, you guys do something very similar too with your salon, is make it easy for people to buy from you, right? Like that's fundamentally, I had a perfect example is I had somebody who wanted to pay a deposit at the end of the year, and they were like, can I pay on credit card? And I was like, yeah. And then I was thinking like, how cool is it? Like now we can really make things easy for people to buy. And, we got to eat some fees and stuff like that. But any way that you can eliminate any of the friction or any of the confusion, and people want the thing and they want to enjoy the thing, allow them to have the thing in whatever the fastest way possible, so they don't have to try and figure out how does it work, right? James, what's going on, brother?
Yeah, and the difference between being, a sales and being a salesperson. When you really love what you do and you're trying to share this passion and this excitement of what is happening in your industry, and you're creating an opportunity for people to enjoy interacting with you. That's the real beauty of it, I find, anyways.
Very cool. And what are some of the things you guys do? Just I know you were telling me the other day that you guys are starting to see. It was at RTS. Your numbers are sort of strengthening there because people are getting more. They're just focused a little bit more on the conversation differently without having to feel like they got to do all of this stuff. Maybe talk about that for a sec, Curtis.
Yeah, we had really good RTS. That's retail to service dollars in our salon for a while, but I still, there's always room for improvement. And we brought you in, Joe, to do a little bit of sales training with our team, and what I liked about it is that, and I think that you've probably in some of the other calls you've touched on this, but maybe if you get a chance to touch on it again, is making the connection between, like I'd said, sales and a salesperson, demystifying what it really means to be part of this consultative selling process, where people really don't like being salesy but it's usually because of how they look at the sales process themselves, and if they're, like you had said, if they're looking at the sale through their own wallet, or they're saying that I'm not comfortable. If you're not comfortable with who you are while you're selling, then there are some aspects that are maybe just need to be cleaned up in your authenticity, in how you present yourself. And once you fine tune those details, you can have a lot of fun with this. This is not trying to give somebody something they don't want. They've come to you for a reason, and being able to give that to them, what's better than that?
Totally, man.
Isn't
and
that
that's
awesome?
Cody's joined us. Hi, Cody. Cody's been working with me now. We've been chatting for the last month and a bit, and she had a wonderful session today. And I think, and if she wants to jump on, she can share it with you guys. But the one sort of insight she was saying is like, it's a lot more like when you just understand like what you're trying to do, when you're trying to sell, all you're doing is having really fun conversations, and you got to just break that down and make it easier to have those conversations. And I think I've told you guys before, one of the things I realized that I do, one of the big focuses when I train on like sales calls and sales call planning is actually when I'm doing sales calls, I close my eyes on the phone just so that I can really be present with the people that I'm talking to. And really try and open, like the stronger that you build that instant connection. I think we talked about it in the last call too, is that spirituality and really connecting with somebody. The faster you can build that connection and be like super normal with them and not be weird and be authentic, everything else is a lot easier. I think. And when I listen to sales calls, I do this all the time, and I just hear people get so caught up in what they think they should say. And there's like Didier saying, there's another person on the other end of that phone, or across the desk from you, or when you're face to face. These are two people. And whether you're talking to somebody that's a CEO of a $1 billion company, or somebody that's just starting out in their business, or it's a customer, everybody can only handle so much stuff. And so whatever they're stressed out about is just what they're stressed out about. So it doesn't matter how many extra zeros are there. It's just two people. And so that's one thing that I started to learn, was just like, how fast can I be normal? How fast can I be the same guy on a sales call that I would be if we were just sitting having a whiskey, right? And that's kind of one of the purposes of this, is to really kind of just break all that crap down. But the hardest part in sales is like to sell without seeming salesy, is to know your stuff without being a know-it-all, right? And to like you know, be an expert without being kind of like douchey, overwhelming, like pitching, right? And that's really hard for people because we get nervous with the ego and the vulnerability kicks in because we don't want to sound stupid, and so we put on that, we talked about last time, put on that armor, and you just try and like keep yourself safe when it's just really two people just chatting, and at some point there's a conversation about here's what it is, here's how much it costs, and they just decide, yeah, I want it or no, I don't. Right. And there's no attachment to the results. It's just have better conversations. Right.
Yeah. People really project a lot on their customers and their clients. And if you're really authentic with yourself, then your projection becomes quite positive and consultative rather than, a negative or how you view an impact towards them saying no to you. And I love the way you put it because it is really about being present, being open. I hope we get a chance to talk a little bit more about this because I think especially in the new year, people really starting to get focused. And you said about New Year's resolutions. I like New Year's resolutions because I think that positive intention and opportunity for growth is really important. And, even just affirmations for yourself is really important. But, rather than being, exercising kindness to self and not resenting or regretting failures, I think is a really important opportunity for people to actually, make a chance, change things, be more authentic, really get connected with what you are selling because everybody is selling something. So, what are you selling? And if you're selling a really authentic, fun, being comfortable with what you're doing and consulting for, then it becomes exciting. Like I see you have all kinds of fun.
I love it.
Joe, theater, like man, when I talk to you about boxing, when I talk to you about Clash of Arrows, you're just like I can see it's almost like your mind or your eyes go to like this battle where you're actually in the ring, and the best parts of what you love are like it comes alive in you. So then that's magnetic, that's attractive to people to be able to be around that energy, and that's an easy sell because I want what's in your eyes.
Yeah, I want to be a part of whatever you're doing. What do you got? Like, what can I buy from you? That's the thing. Like Didier has that energy where people just want to give him money for stuff. You got it easy, buddy. So what's one of the things, I mean, there's a couple things. Is one thing I've been seeing, if you ever really want to just get focused on selling, go get sold to. That was like all through like November, December. I worked really hard on trying to be a customer for all sorts of places and just what it feels like to get sold at and sold to. And I don't know if we mentioned it in the last time we chatted, but like I sign up for all these different like CRM things and I look at all this stuff and like instantly everybody's like, oh, I'm so excited that you're here and thanks for coming and talking to me. And then as soon as we like don't do what they want us to do or they start to feel it's not working, it's like Jekyll and Hyde, man. Salespeople turn into these like terrible, like, how dare you not do this? And, if you don't answer my email or obviously you're not interested, I'll take you off my list. And like, they get pissy. Right. And so that's what I've been seeing is like, man, and that's that feeling. Like, I think Cody and I were talking about it today is like, in my case, people give me scotch, which is perfect. But, when we were talking about it today is that feeling of like what it feels like to be sold to, and just like, don't do that to other people, right? Whatever the conversation is, if they don't do what you need them to do, or they don't do the expectations that you have, it doesn't mean that they don't want to work with you. It just means that they're probably focused on something else. Right. And I think too many times when people are selling to you, they get frustrated. They're attached to these results. I like what Robbie was saying here is, we're pressured to hit all these quotas. And we're super friendly until that person doesn't do what we want them to do. And then all of a sudden we get results focused and all of our internal worth is measured by the extrinsic value of the things we create. But what it really matters is the stuff we do every day. And so whether somebody says yes or no, it doesn't matter. But are you consistent with everything that you do? And I know that's one thing, Didier, you're really good at is you're always consistently just awesome with everybody you meet. And it's you never know if they're buying from you or not, but you're super awesome to them. So how maybe talk about that for a second. How do you keep that sort of energy up when people say, no, I'm not going to give you money for that thing?
One thing I used to do is I used to do door-to-door sales for a company called Canadian Property Stars. And we used to do lawn aeration. And it's the most like bare bones job. You have to run around with a big tractor machine, knock on doors. Hi, sir, my name is Didier. I want to do this. I want to do that. Yes or no. But what I realized is while I was doing that, I was also starting up. I had a clothing line back then, and I was kind of about to start Clash of Arrows. So if ever the person didn't want to buy anything from me for the aeration, I just talked to him about the clothing line, or talk to him about what I'm doing as a student, what I want to do, and it's kind of always having like a second bullet in the gun, and I feel like that always opens up different opportunities for things. Because let's say I talk to Joe about doing Clash of Rouse events, and he's like, no, I don't really think about doing it, and then we ended up going on a different trajectory of conversation. It's better being able to keep that connection with the person than not being able to make that first sale. Yeah, because most of the people that you do business with, that you meet, is some of the times it wasn't even about that first business or that first conversation you had. It's just you just continued talking, and eventually something grew into something bigger. Yeah, and then I think that's key, because there's looking at opportunities when you talk to someone as a 1 day opportunity, 1 month opportunity, or a 1 year opportunity. What I mean by that is the 1 day opportunity means you're talking to them and your mindset is kind of in that 1 day result oriented. And if you don't get it, you're kind of mad. There's the 1 month where you want to kind of get a connection with someone and keep it going for a month. But I think the best connections are 1 year connections, where you slowly grow something and you're able to, in a way, squeeze everything out of them, and they can squeeze everything out of you also. And I think keeping that mindset of whatever interaction I have with someone, I'm thinking about interaction a year from now. What's it going to look like? Totally. So then you can actually see progress growing better, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Nathan, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing just fine. Bit tired. Other than that, just fine.
You look good. You look good. Bright-eyed, bushy tail. Didier, one of the things you're touching on there is 100% bang on him, and it's when we enter into a lot of these conversations with customers, that's what we should be thinking is like, if we do it the right way, this could be somebody we're connected with for years. And whether they buy today or not isn't the issue. It's like, do we have the same shared values? Do we believe in the same stuff? Are these the kinds of people I want to be around as customers? So we get to identify whether they're going to be customers or not. And I did a call yesterday with they're going to sign up as a new client. And it's really nice to have a good conversation where like you're just genuinely excited about what's going on in their world. And it's not about selling them anything. It's just like, and then what about this? And how does that work? You're like, oh, have you thought about this? And you get into this really cool sort of strategic alliance, this partnership mentality where it's like, now what are you trying to do? And how does that work? And maybe have you looked at these resources? And you start to get into that dialogue, because ultimately the goal for me is I want to be here this time next year with them. I want to still be working with them, whether we start this month or 6 months from now. But one of my favorite things is my clients that I've been working with for a number of years is when they call like the New Year's resolution thing. There's like, okay, we've got you in the budget for the year. What are we going to do? Now we get into this like really fun sort of like, what are we going to do? And in our networking, in our community partners, it's just like those conversations are really, really powerful. So if the first point of contact, when you, like you were saying, if you first meet somebody and you're first thinking about how do I make today's sale, you got to think about the 5th and 6th sale with that person, not just with them, but the people that they know, the people within their organizations, their contacts, and the 2nd and 3rd level of the purchase. And if you think like that, it changes the dynamic of how you interact with them and how you converse, because you're thinking long-term partnerships, like especially for what you're doing. Even though Clash of Arrows, it's a very transactional business model. People come in, shoot the arrows, they're done. But ultimately, you want to build partnerships with the places that they are, the people you want to have repeat customers. So eventually you don't have to sell that much. You just have a base. Same thing with Curtis, with what you guys do at the salon. You want people just keep coming back because they're part of something, right?
Yeah.
And I've got Cody. I had a couple of comments. Cody was talking about, that long-term relationship, develop a connection, choose the customer instead of the other way around. That was something, we talked about. Just, it's really nice. And I know for me, that's kind of the mindset that I've got into over the years, where I get really excited about potential customer. And I'm like, man, I would love, now that I've thought about this, I'm totally interested in bringing you on as a client. Instead of being like, what do I have to do to be your vendor? It's like, I want to bring you on as a client. Like, that's really fun, right? I'm going to choose you as a customer. So that's kind of like, that's a fun sort of switch on that, right? And so go Nathan, Chris, you were going to say something, then we'll go to Nathan after that.
I just wanted to touch on one of your points, just in setting up, for sales success and making it easy and fun for 2016. How about this? Leveraging partners. Mm-hmm. Thinking about how exciting it is that you can leverage a lot of different opportunities with organizations, with your clients, with your friends, with your family, and really, be the sale rather than trying to think of it as a sales as a result. You are part of that sales transaction. You're part of that communication, connection, relationship piece, and just get authentic with it, and be excited about opportunities to leverage. If you don't know about, if you want, that's what, when anybody asks me for advice for business development or anything like that, I always look at where they can leverage, what they can leverage, what their current relationships, what the current opportunities for leverage are, and that's really the diving board into so many different pools. Yeah,
cool. Nathan, what about you, brother? How about you? Give us some pearls of wisdom on the sales side, setting yourself up for success. Dazzle us.
Dazzle you? Ooh, I don't know about that. Let me think. Do I need to find a diamond or something? Anyway,
you are a diamond.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that's happened as of late, which has been really cool, is I've been a part of a community of internet marketers for a long time, and one of them reached out to me a while ago. His name is Willie Crawford. And he invited me to be a part of a joint venture list building extravaganza, which is like this huge contest. And you would submit gifts based on what your business is. And he claims that over the course of a month or so that you could build a list of 2,000 targeted clients. So this thing went live yesterday. It was actually a bit wild because I was a little bit cash poor at one point because he was asking me about doing an upgrade. And he said, no, I'll give you the money. I know you're going to make it all back and then some. So you just give me the cash. I upgraded, and the thing went live yesterday. And within a very short period of time, I discovered that I had a whole bunch of new people on my list and all sorts of interactivity going on. And Willie had asked me to make a posting about it just to let other people know, hey, this thing works,
Yeah.
So it's been really interesting because one of the things that I wanted to do, which was different from the gift giving process, was to give a gift in the form of a 30-minute session. And he said to me, check with the organizers, see if they'll go for it. And they said yes. Cool. So I've already got a session booked courtesy of doing that.
My man, I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
One of the things that that I've been talking about with a lot of clients kicking off the new year is coming back to the systems approach to selling, a very systemic way of doing things. Because no matter how much I think Cody used the word unicorn, no matter how much I think I'm a special, unique flower and a unicorn in the sales world, like I can sell anything, I think that's bullshit. I think the reason that sales to be really, really good, you need to have a system. You need to have predictability. You need to remember there's the new Fuller House is coming on Netflix, right? Whatever happened to predictability? Remember that song? Anyways, I'll check. But that's but what I'm saying is like in our sales process, I believe that I can take somebody with like no sales experience that can follow a system, that can go through a methodology, and they can outperform like what you call a superstar hardcore closer any day of the week, right? As long as they have the right attitude and they're coachable, and we can ramp that up. Because I see a lot of businesses that get held hostage by the best that their sales reps choose to do, right? And so that's something that I see is that, just because no, my dad's not Joe Girard, by the way. I'm joegirard.ca. He's joegirard.com. I'm trying to get them to sell me that URL. So thanks, brother. Question there.
You might just get it at some point.
I'm going to try to steal it. Yeah. So what I'm saying is like, that's something that I've learned over the years is that no matter how great that you think you are, if you don't have a system, you don't have predictability, you don't have repeatable things, you can't scale that. And so one of the biggest things I do is I figure out what are those high value activities. When I work with my clients, when we do coaching, when we do sales, it's like, let's focus on the activity. You guys have heard that, it's not about the destination, it's the journey. But if we focus on the specific things you do, and you just like when you ask somebody if they want to buy the thing and they say no, it's like if I offered you a piece of gum and you said no, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I just have to have more of those activities happening. But if you are waiting for like that result to come in and you're like, oh, I really hope it happens, everything else is subconsciously communicated to your clients where there's this need that you have. So when you just like really just enjoy all of the stuff you do and find that joy and even the mundane everyday things, knowing that my target looks like this and I know what I need to do every single day, it becomes so much easier. It takes all that pressure off of like, I have to perform. Right. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, especially with my clients. I'm like, let's build these systems. Let's simplify. Stop doing all the shit you don't need to do and focus on the stuff that matters. Like these 10 things. Let's just do those. Forget about it. Right. So how about that, guys? What kind of systems, what kind of repeatable processes do you use that allow you just to sort of shut your brain off and just focus on the routine?
Well, that's actually it. What I was talking about is in line with this thing. This whole thing of building an email list is to create a system within the email list of predetermined messages that go out at a particular time. And yesterday I was looking through part of that system of building it, and I just copied it down. Now, I've done email stuff before, but this time around it's different because I'm starting from ground zero. Last time around I did it and wound up building a list through a joint venture. So they had already bought the product and they were just signing up for what I had on the back end. This time around, it's a whole front end deal, completely different, brand new to me. But the idea of building the list, if you do it the right way and you do it over time, like a lot of people in my industry, at least, they make the mistake of the one-time sale, and it's a huge mistake because if they're setting up an email list, they could potentially sell to the same customer for the next 5 years. And so it's, from my perspective, very important. But setting up the system, as you say, the autoresponder to work in a particular way, and then after that, doing what you can to improve your conversions.
Yep. And a couple things here. I got SEO Chase. I'm going to bring up something on SEO. One of the SEO is a pain in the ass. I think there's three things that I've been building into my programs. Is I start with, we look at clarity, then consistency, and confidence. Those are the three things that you need to get. So a lot of times on the SEO side is SEO, if people don't really know like what their message is, what their offer is, what their business is about. And so they just like, I've been bad for that as well. I got to strip away all the crap on my website too, because it's just like that spray and pray. You got to get really clear on what's that one problem you solve for people. What's your business about? Who are you? What do you represent? So that you're clear on your business. People, I'll just go, that's what you do? They're clear on it. So the conversation is really like, hey, you want somebody that does this? Talk to that guy or that girl, right? And then from the consistency, build the systems. And then the last one, the confidence is, for me, like sales seems really logical. It seems like it makes a lot of sense when you listen to how it all works. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. And Cody and I were talking about earlier today was, if content and info were all you needed, everybody'd be a millionaire with six-pack abs, right? Well, there's no shortage of info that's out there. But
so you cracked me up when you said the six-pack abs thing, because I met the guy who actually created that years ago.
Oh, nice. So and learn to solo. What's your name? I'm gonna check you out. I like this guy.
But Dieter's got the 8-pack abs system.
Yeah, Mike, it's 7-minute abs, right? So yeah, Mike, you're bang on, man. It's we focus too much on closing, and if you ask the right questions, you help people move to this like new reality, and you get better at sort of stepping away from the getting caught in the muck of the conversation and step out and say, what are we trying to do here? And see it from a different point of view. You start to see things before they happen. You start to get into that matrix where you feel like, yeah, this makes more sense. And you're having better conversations. And that's where a lot of people get lost is I have people that say, here's my script. And then you follow a script, but conversations don't follow scripts, right? They go in these different ways. So we build a whole roadmap and stuff the way we do it. But it's just getting confident and saying, when I say this feels good. I feel authentic when I do this. And so that's those are three of the areas that I really focus on. And maybe Didier, you want to touch on that?
No.
Okay.
Well, that's authentic.
I like this guy.
I have something to add.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
I think the biggest part for me for systems is consistency. Yeah. Your client and you and the world we like structure. We like consistent results. You can be the best at a one time. That's not going to be a recipe for success in a long period of time. You have to be consistently doing well and always progressing and continuing. And tell you the truth, in my opinion, SEO is all about consistency. And it's a great lesson about consistency. Somebody made a comment that PPC is where it's at, and that's people are wondering, that's pay-per-click. Yeah, you get initial returns off of PPC, and right away it's objective results about, you're driving traffic to a certain location. But even with PPC, if you're not consistent with your SEO and you're not consistent with driving them to relevant landing pages and getting them to the information that they're looking for immediately, you're going to have so many bounce rates, and you're just going to be throwing money in the wind, people coming and bouncing off your site like crazy, and you're going to be looking at like, wow, I got lots of activity, but all you're doing is just paying a lot more and a lot more to acquire customers. So really, consistency is that's the lesson, and there's a lot of elements to it, and systems SEO is one of those systems. To be consistent with your message, to be consistent with and being authentic of who you are, and in that process. So
yeah, you know what? I think I've shared with you guys this before. This book, Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg, awesome book. One of the things I love about this is that it's all about how, because I do a lot of work with like neuroscience and psychology and behavior, and I look partly, I've told you before, it's just because I want to know why I do all the crazy shit that I do, just trying to figure out why are we all like just mental, man. And Didier knows you're out of control. That's fine. But when we look at this stuff, is like the social cognitive neuroscience is this field I really, really like. And in this book, Power of Habit, they talk about the ways that we build habits. And now, because they have all these fMRIs, they can study the brain. They can actually see how things fire in our brains. And when we build the right routines, if we don't have a routine, our mental activity, like on the graphs, are all over the place. We're always busy. And that's, I think, what most people feel these days in their business, in their lives, is just this constant when you start to build the right routines, they're built on three things. They talk about, you have a trigger or a cue, then you've got the routine, and then you've got the reward. And so once you start to systemize everything you're doing, and you start to identify, when this happens, I just do this. You start to build these scripts, mental scripts or mental processes. When this happens, I do this, then this happens. All of a sudden it's a spike on the trigger, and then it's a very low mental activity while you're doing the routine, and then a spike on the reward. And so as we start to study how the brain works that way, and when I build my sales process with people, that's what we're trying to do, is what are the things that happen consistently that we can map out, so that when we know these are probably the 5 to 10 things that are going to happen in any given conversation, now let's build a process for when this happens, we do this. And then it goes here. Now we have an insight. We have another question. We go deeper here. And then when these things happen, here's the next level of options. And then we do this. And so once people get into this routine and they understand how to build that, it takes all the mental activity. And then once the mental activity decreases, you get to have more fun. You get to actually just sit back and be like, because now you hear something and you were prepared to hear it. It blows me away when people are like, oh, I always have a problem with this. And then I ask them, well, what are you doing to fix it? They're like, I just always have that problem. And so it's like, well, let's build something that makes that not a problem anymore. Let's make it so that you're going to say the right thing and that it makes sense and you can test it and be okay to try stuff, right? So I'll throw that, I guess. Who wants to add to that?
Well, your confidence is just massive when it comes to being able to really be comfortable with your content, and with being comfortable with who you are and being authentic about your sales process. That confidence just plays through in everything that you're doing. And when I talk to Dieter about like Clash of Arrows or about fighting, he doesn't skip a beat and think about like, well, I don't know what I really like about getting into the ring with somebody. It's like all of a sudden his eyes light up and he's like, what I love being is present in that moment of just knowing that I'm going to kick some ass. And well, that's what you say, isn't it? I don't know. I won't put words in your mouth, but I think that's what I remember you saying last time.
Don't start trouble.
But maybe
one.
Well, maybe if we could start a conversation about that, and just another strategy with regards to success in 2016 for setting yourself up for is really having a really clean and crisp focus, being able to realize that you can't be good at a million things at one time. You really have to just dig deep, concentrate, and really put everything into what you do on a small little level and just do it really, really well. And throw some kindness to self in there, and maybe read Raja Yoga by Vivekananda. It might help you out too. But I don't know if anybody else can talk a little bit about focus and just positive mental attitude.
Cool. I'm gonna ask somebody to volunteer. Mike wants to join us and have some chats. He's got some things he want to say.
Sure.
Who wants to step up for a sec? Sorry, you jump out, Nathan? Cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
We'll bring Mike in. Cool.
I was gonna add something. For the focus part, me, I'm extremely unfocused. I wouldn't say unfocused. I'm extremely focused, but I always feel like my ideas and everything, I'm always thinking about it, and I can never like zone into one thing. So for me, what I did to help me with that is I kind of let myself think I can do everything. Because if I tell myself I can't do everything, I'm gonna go crazy. So what I ended up doing for me is I have a little blog where I'll make little videos or I'll write little articles, and I think it's almost like a treat. Because you see all these things that you want to do, and you think, okay, I could probably do them if I had the time or if I had really put time into it.
Yeah.
But you can't do the whole 100%. So I think it's okay every now and then you do a little 1% of that big idea that you had, just so that it kind of like releases out of your mind and puts it out in the world.
Yeah.
When you're in the ring, Dieter, are you thinking about how well your website's performing today? Are you thinking about I should have probably did some promotions for the end of January, because that's usually a slow month for me, or I need to update my marketing calendar for February because there's Valentine's Day is coming up. When you're in the ring and you're fighting, I bet you have one thing on your mind.
100%.
And that's to punch your way through to success, and that's it.
Yeah. And you know what's I'm gonna add this. Didier, if you haven't checked this book out, you'd love it. There's a part here on I don't know if you guys know Tony Dungy, when he started with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a coach. That's what he ended up building from the sports part, is building the cues, the routines, and the reward. Really, really cool, especially on boxing, because that's what you're looking for, is those cues and rewards. Mike, what's going on, brother? I want to add you to the call. How's it going, man?
Good, man. I just wanted to say, when you're fighting, you're not thinking I'm going to throw a left hook here, and so it's like you got to. I think this is in sales and speaking and everything. People are too stuck in their heads. What should I do? What technique? All this shit. And I know this sounds really cheesy, but if you come from the heart, it's going to be always good. Even if you have that's the intention thing. Even if the wrong words and everything's right, but they see your intention, you can get away with a lot of shit. You know what I mean? Whereas where people come in and I have a problem with sales these days, and I'm a salesman. I love sales, but most salespeople just care about themselves, and it's so clear. People come to my door and try to sell me shit, and I love it. I love people. I love a good salesman.
So
I keep
good.
them out there for a half hour.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think you were right. You said something, Joe, earlier about the process and the steps. And in my head, sales, like copy, email marketing, and regular sales is the same. Like if you have different steps to the sale, meet and greet, yes, whatever you have to do. The only job of that is to get you to the next step. Same thing. If you have an email, the subject is just to get you to read it. The first sentence is just get you to read the second sentence.
That's it, man.
In sales, all you should do is focus on getting to the next step. That's it. Yeah. People take the first step and they say, "Are you buying?" What the hell is that? You just skip 30 steps. Whatever.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think, a lot of people, they one of the biggest issues I see is prejudging, right? We start to invent all these ways that people aren't going to buy from us. And so we don't give the full show. We don't go through the whole system. And then that becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy because we didn't even ask. We didn't ask the right question. We didn't share the right insight. And then when we went to ask for commitment, in our own mind, we were weak and we're kind of asking from this place of, is it okay if I sell to you?
We're not even committed, and we're asking someone else to be committed, right?
Yeah.
The salesperson is not committed to the process. How do you expect someone else to be committed?
Exactly. Here's I'll tell you guys a funny story. On the last Whiskey Friday we did, this was in December. I had a guy that I know through one of my networks. We've talked previously, but never really talked too much. And he's got a really, really big business. They've blown up. And he said, I got some questions for you on like some of your sales ideas for my team. And he said, can we do it on Friday at like 4:30? And I said, yeah. However, I am doing this Whiskey Friday thing and I'll be drinking for like 2 hours. So as long as you're cool with like the best advice ever, but a lot more swearing and slurring, we're golden. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, cool. So we did the sales call. But for me, like, it doesn't matter because I love what I do so much that it doesn't feel like a sales call. But even if I've been drinking all day, I still follow the process. You don't go off and like start talking about weird stuff. It kind of follows. It goes out, comes back in, it goes out, and it has a very clear process. Okay, next step, let's do this. I'm going to send you this. You're going to look at this. Then we'll do this. If they say no to that, say, how about this? And everything just has a system. So you get to just have fun, sit back and do whatever you want to do. And then people can feel that. They're like, wow, you're excited. You're interested in what I'm doing. You're interested in my business. And the number one thing I love doing is just talking to people about their business. And hopefully eventually it leads to, and I bet you I could help you. That's pretty much the whole sales process. But ideally, it's just, what are you up to? What's your business look like? How do I get excited for your thing? And maybe we work together, maybe we don't. And that's just what I get to do all the time. And I think it's really lucky that we get to do that. And if you get to have customer interactions, awesome, right? When you first start your business, you just want one customer. And as that starts to go, people forget about what that really means to just connect with one person at a time. So
That's awesome.
K-Money. Give us some value.
Well, you know what I love is being excited about other people's businesses. And I guess in that process, a lot of times authentic sales just happen. Personally, you don't always have to just be ready to be talking about exactly what you're passionate about. Being interested in other people's passions really does give you opportunities to leverage and sooner or later, the best thing people can ask is your opinion. But you don't have to give it all the time. Just wait until people ask, and then he really comes across as authentic and consistent, and people are really listening. And I think if you break it down into the sales structure of where rather than people are just like throwing up all of their ideas into a conversation, to get to a point where you're actually listening, like really listening to each other. That's when the sales process really gets exciting. And that's when you really start developing some amazing relationships, and you get to see other people successful in their industries, and that's an awesome gift to be part of that.
Totally, man. One of the questions, here's an important one. Chase, SEO Chase, was asking about podcasting. And this is something that a lot of people, not just podcasting, but they ask, what about this system? Or what about Facebook? Or what about these thousands of things you can be involved in? What's the best way to do this? And the answer is it depends, right? It really, hey, Chateau, look wonderful, by the way. And the best thing you can do is just, I know with some of the people that do like network marketing, one of the best things you learn is like, just be there this time next year. What ends up happening, I know Gary Vaynerchuk did this thing where they're like, oh, I've been doing my business for 6 months or a year and it's not working. And they're like, should I give up? It's like, the moment you give up, you're done. So for me, like, I do podcasting. When I started podcasting, the evolution of it was I was writing my blog, and then I had a friend email me saying, hey, I love your blog. And I get Siri to read it to me on my iPhone. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, what if I just read it and I sent the audio out? He's like, hey, that'd be cool. So that's how it started. And then that evolved into eventually somebody's like, you should do a podcast. And all the podcast is not for me to like, how am I getting leads? I actually don't track any of that stuff. It's just me like having fun, trying to be normal, trying to sound like not a douchebag, trying to sound like not a weirdo, and just like say fun stuff that people are wrestling with. Because I've had some of my big clients, they've been following my stuff for like a year. And it's like, we've had this relationship I didn't know about. And now they're like, hey man, can you help us with this? And they tell me all this stuff that like, man, I'm like, as long as I'm consistent, like, I'm like, did I say anything weird? They're like, no, you're always like, you're hitting this stuff. So the podcasting, all that, that's the way I use it. Other people, you've got all these funnels and all this stuff. As long as your message is clear and your audience gets what you're trying to say and they feel like that resonates with them, you can do anything you want. So podcasting, SEO, Facebook, AdWords, if they just go, hey, I've got that problem and I feel like that's the person that can help me, that's all we're trying to do, right?
Yeah, and podcasting in itself is a success. Keep creating content. Just, if anything, if you can learn anything from what I'm trying to say today anyways, for, as something that'll set you up for success in 2016, is think of every conversation you have and every opportunity when you're communicating as potential content. Record it, get it written down, blog it. do webinars like this, put your thoughts in a podcast, be consistent with your message, and people will start saying like, this guy knows his shit. Like, let's start listening to what he has to say.
Yeah.
Another thing you guys can do.
I gotta take a call, so I'll pause out for a little.
You're done. I'm kicking you out.
See, man.
Okay, buddy.
This content too.
Sorry, go ahead.
So like if just did the video, right, and you record a video, a training video, something like this, but just like a monologue.
Yeah.
And then you basically took the audio out. There's your podcast. Okay. Then you have some transcribe everything. There's your blog post. So you take one thing and you multi-purpose it all over the place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally.
Yeah. Leverage every interaction.
Yeah, and the funny thing that somebody Chase SEO, the biggest thing I learned is when I started doing videos, the best lesson I learned was I'm like, man, that is not how I sound. I remember my girlfriend would watch some of the videos and be like, you sound like one of those marketing douchebags, right? Like you just sound like you're pitching. And I'm like, she's like, that's not how you talk. And one of the hardest things to do is to not sound salesy, is to sound normal. Like if it's like, because I see people selling online and I'm like, that guy sounds weird. Like, I don't know if I would go have a whiskey with them. Like if that's how they talk normally. And I see salespeople, like sales trainers, the voice I always imitate it. It's like, when you do this, then you got to do this. Like they're always coming with this epiphany. And I'm like, is that how you talk to people? Because that's weird. If we sat down, like, you're creeping me out. So it's that the hardest thing to do is just be normal and not sound like a weirdo. And that was probably, Chase, that was probably the thing that I learned when I started doing podcasting and audio is how authentic can I, it was just a long process of working on, does that sound like how I would talk normally? And if you watch my podcast, I talk a lot with my hands. That's how I normally talk. So, and that's why I like Whiskey Friday, because it was just basically something to do that was really authentic, that we don't get a luxury of like re-recording. Once you get stuck in your head of like trying to make it perfect, you've already lost, right?
So when I go to my chiropractor or places I visit, I ask the girls that answer the phones, do you get a lot of sales calls and like on SEO and stuff like that? And of course they do. Mm-hmm. And I said, because they're really good. Not many people get to my doctor, right? And so I'm like, so how can you tell it's a sales call? So I ask them all the questions because I love sales, right? Mm-hmm. And she's like, they're way too happy. They're all like, oh, hi. You know, like, yeah. And, you know, and so I always find out everywhere I go what, you know, because I think if it's pretty safe. If you do the opposite of everyone else, you're probably going to be pretty successul.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that, because I'm imagining that call, because it's always like, hi, Brenda, how are you today? It's like, you're creeping me out. You're selling me something. Like instantly, humans are built for survival. We could smell being sold to a mile away. Everybody's attuned to it. And like salespeople just, for some reason, they're clueless. So it's great for me, because then there's lots of business for me to do. Right. So, and
that's unfortunate, because some people have a lot of good products and then all of a sudden they start, representing it terribly. What restaurant were we at the other day, Joe? I know it happened. It all blurs together. There's so many, but
it's not just drinking.
I think, was it at Brown's? I think it was at Brown's, but you were in between two things on the menu, and you do this on purpose. I know you do. Yeah, and you asked the waitress, okay, like I'm between. No, you're at the local. You said, I'm thinking about this, and I'm also thinking about this. Tell me about that. And I know you didn't say it, but you basically said, sell it to me. Sell something to me. I want you to be sold on it. And I know why you're doing this. First off, you just love to hear other people, like how they do it and how they approach it. And it also shows you like, okay, boom, that person's they're really passionate about what they do. They know the thing. And when they sell it to you and they're good at it, it tastes a whole lot better.
Yeah, well, there's a third, you're bang on. The fundamental reason though is I want to eat the best shit. I want the tastiest thing. Like, I don't know. They know. This is their thing. Tell me what like, and that's when, like, the thing that drives me crazy, because I do it all the time. I don't want to eat the thing that afterwards they're like, yeah, nobody really likes that. I'm like, why did you let me buy it? Right? Why did you allow me to have your crappy food? So that's why I always ask. I'm like, you're the expert. I trust you. Even if you're a server, you've done this more than I've done it. Use your expertise. Help me make a choice. Not sell it to me, but so I always ask. I'm like, hey, I feel like this. What do you think I should have? What's the best thing? And 9 times out of 10, they're like, well, I don't know. What do you feel like? I'm like, that's not what I'm asking. Right? Yeah. Tell me the thing. And I'll just say, okay, because I trust your expert advice. And often they shit the bed on it. And I'm like, tell me what to buy. Yeah.
So I was working. I worked for Apple for about 6 years. It was a really cool gig. No commission sales or anything, but I was tired of commission sales. And we were selling one of those, those Nike Fuel Bands or those Fitbit things, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so some guy comes in and he says, "Tell me why I need to sell me on it," right? And I love that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I go, I don't know if you need it. You probably don't need it. Most people buy it, and then after 2 weeks they don't use it. Why do you think you need it? And then, dude, he closes himself hard. He goes,
Yeah.
"Well, I'll work out. I'm going to be doing this." As he's saying, I reach up and I grab it from the shelf. I scan it, wait for him to finish, and I said, "It'll be $165." And I just let him close himself.
Yeah, totally, man. And that's what
Funny.
people do. You got to give people the chance to buy, right? We've talked about this before. I love buying stuff, and most of the time, salespeople screw it up. They don't make it fun. They don't, because purchasing, when you have money, you're going to buy the thing, and people make it not fun to buy. You're like, nah, I don't want to give you my money. It feels weird. Like I'll take my money, I'll go somewhere else. But if the part of, especially with restaurants and with the salon, all this stuff it's an experience. You're like part of something, and that whole purchase is not just the transaction, but the experience. And there's all these studies that we read on, like, people that pay more for wine, it tastes better. Part of our decision making and how our brains work is if we feel like we're getting a lot of value, we can justify anything. And that's why all that little stuff kind of kicks in. And the biggest value is in the salesperson. And so I always ask people, like, that's why we'll come back into the topic here today. Setting yourself up for success is really thinking about not how to sell your product or service, but how to sell you. Everybody you interact with you are the brand. They decide. I always say the 5 levels. They start with, they buy you first, and they decide, do they like you? Is there rapport? Is there agreed upon need? Have you asked good questions, or are you just a commodity? If you're just a source of info, they're going to look it up online, or they're going to treat you like just a commodity. Then they decide, if you get hit by a bus, will they buy from this company? This is a brand I want to associate with. And then down the level is product, service, or the product and price and time. And most people, they just jump into like the product and the service, and here's what it is, features and benefits, and it's garbage, man. So they want to buy that you are valuable. And if they feel that there's value in talking to you or being a part of this thing that you're a part of, they get to say, man, I got to buy this thing. This is exciting. And as long as the price is not unreasonable, they want to have it, right?
And people will pay a lot more for you too if you provide value. I was in actually probably one of the worst industries according to a lot of people. I sold cars for like 9 years, and I remember this girl came in looking for a used Honda Civic EX. She said, and we didn't have any, right? We just had an LX. And anyway, so I said, "What is it about the EX you like? Is it the moonroof?" She's like, "No." I said, "Is it the more horsepower?" She goes, "No." I go, "Then what is it?" And she goes, "I don't know. It just looks sleeker." And I go, "I agree. Why do you think it looks sleeker?" And she thinks about it for a second. She says, "Well, the molding on the side and in the mirrors, they match the color of the car." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. So what you're telling me is I basically can save you about $3,500 on this LX Civic, paint the molding and the mirrors, and that would work for you?" And she's like, "Yeah, holy cow." And I know it's very simple and basic, but I bet you 99% of the people that worked where I worked would have just said, "Oh, she wanted an EX, we didn't have one," and they just left. Do you know what I mean? To really find out why they want it. What is it about that you like? And the next thing you know, we have a model that's $3,000 cheaper, has everything you really need and want, and then boom, now I saved you money, I got a sale, everyone's happy.
Yeah, and I think what I'm hearing there, man, is like the biggest thing there is that you just give a shit, and you're like just asking a genuine question, not as a sales question, but you're just like, tell me, like you're just curious. Like if it was your wife or your girlfriend or your friend, you'd be like, why do you want that? And they're like, oh, it's like this. Oh, okay, cool. What about this? And it's just a way easier conversation than like, what do I have to do to get you in this car today? Like that weird sales
cheesy. I would never say, where do your payments need to be? I don't care where your payments need to be. When people tell me that the payments are too high, I go, what do you expect? You're looking at a $40,000 vehicle. Expensive car, high payments. Sign here.
Yeah. Do you want it or not? Right?
The other thing,
go ahead, man.
I think is an important sales that a lot of sellers don't see is that every interaction you have with someone, whether it's on the street, a little kid, a grandma, nobody interacts with another person expecting it to be negative. I don't walk around town bumping someone expecting them to be negative. I mean, everybody wants you to be the golden thing. They see you and they're, subconsciously, they're just expecting something good. They want their day to be lifted up higher and higher. So if you just put yourself in the position as kind of the giver, and they're just trying to receive something awesome, just genuinely give them something awesome, whatever it is. You know, no little kid looks at a Batman, a dude dressed in Batman, and expect the guy to pop his balloon. He doesn't expect that to happen. He expects the guy to be dressed in Batman to dance around, do something cool, make his day. So I think Joe had said that in one of his talks on his blog a while ago is just make somebody's day. You know, make them remember you the next day, the day after that, and be like, oh man, I ran into this guy. I really, really liked him. Super cool. You know, because that's like we've been talking about is branding. You're branding yourself. You're branding your entity, and it's, you know, if you can make someone's day, there's nothing better than that.
There's a push-pull thing. There's a push-pull thing too, right? So there's a balancing thing too. Someone comes at you hard, and you kind of just no problem. I'll take care of everything for you. It's not gonna work. You got to match their intensity, and you know, even if you have to stand them up a little bit, and then they'll you know, even if they're being a dick, they're gonna say, "Oh, this guy's a dick just like me. I like him," and then you can kind of guide them. No, I'm serious.
Well, and that's it. I mean, the problem that I see a lot of people is like we adopt this mindset of, you know, the customer's always right, or I have to do whatever I need to do to make them happy. No. If you know your stuff and you know there's value in what you offer and it's worth a price point, and you've even had just one happy customer, you should have the ability to challenge them and say, hey, this is how it is. This is what it works. This is how our relationship is going to go, without like maybe being a bit of a dick, but not necessarily having to be one, right? Just, you know, adding that value. And ultimately, if we know we can help somebody and they benefit from whatever we're offering and they don't buy from us, then we got to take that personal accountability that we've maybe not done our job. Right. And because I think too many people are passively accepting sales that come to them that say, I want to buy the thing, and not actively driving that and influencing people and getting them to that aha moment where I'm like, like you're saying, even with the cars, is getting them to see it differently. Right. Shift it, disrupting that pattern, disrupting the way they think, and getting them to go, hey, that's interesting. That's exciting, because there's so many things trying to get everybody's attention. All you got to do is just tap into that a little bit and get them to look at you, get them to focus for a minute and help them see this change in reality you're going to create. And Didier, one of the things you're saying, like one of the quotes I always loved is never let anyone leave you without being better or happier. It was a Mother Teresa one. And that's always something I believe. It doesn't matter if people buy from you. It matters that people interact with you and they're like, I like that. That felt good. That guy's a good guy to talk to. And people will start to invent. They're like, well, what do I have to do to give that guy some money? That's all. That's all you want eventually, right? And so, and you have more of these valuable conversations, more of these great relationships, and eventually that all starts to pay off. And as long as you, like we talked about from the beginning, is being consistent and not, you know, even when somebody says no to my service, I still say, awesome, no problem. Here's some stuff you might want to check out. And because I have a blog, I say, and if you have any ideas for content that you'd like me to put together, feel free to email me and I'll write content specifically for you. Even though you haven't bought anything from me, I'm always looking for ideas. So I've never left an interaction, whether it's good or bad, in a place where like we didn't feel good about it after, whether they bought or not. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. Now I want to go around. I'm trying to keep it to an hour here. So I want to go around the horn and get you guys sort of some final thoughts on a couple things that you want to just do to kick ass for 2016 for sales. I'll start with Curtis. We'll go to Didier, then Mike, and then I'll just say a bunch of stuff.
For me, I guess the only thing that I'm going to really change on is I've been going through a little bit of change how I view sales. I guess I'm really good about talking about it and everything else, but sometimes I do have an issue with coming across like I'm trying to sell something, because I really love just supporting people, and I like hearing what other people are up to and how I can, you know, help them become successful. In a way, you know, that is sales. You know, I'm selling myself. I'm present in that experience to do what I love and be passionate about. I love what you talk about as sales not being dirty. It's not a dirty little secret. It's not something it's a state of being. It's not this really weird thing that's out there that we have to be awkward or cheesy or, you know. And so for me, I think that I love just being authentic, just being really comfortable with all the projects that I take on, that I really personally am excited about it. And that I really believe is so magnetic and attractive to people to say, you know, whatever they might not even be interested in you know, a niche like a hair salon, business development, or coming to Design House to get their haircut. But yeah, they still are attracted to my passion, and being attracted to a passion and gives you an opportunity to leverage my you know, opportunities with knowing other businesses and connecting them with amazing people this year. I'm really excited about all of your successes this year. I guess that's one thing that I'm really excited about. I'm looking forward to this webinar in what we're looking forward to in 2017, and seeing how everybody's businesses just blew up and how they're just kicking ass this year. So I'll just send that as positive intention to everybody that's been on this call today, and everybody that's out there listening, and everybody that's going to be joining us in the next year, is that you know, have a really great year and realize the success that you're really authentic and comfortable with achieving, and you know, show a lot of kindness to yourself this year.
Cool. Love it. Curtis, I love you, man. Didier, what's up? Give us some pearls of wisdom here.
For me, I would say let others tell your story. I think that's the most genuine thing that I try and do every day for the business, for myself, for my family. I think that when we go through a phase where we're constantly telling our story, we're running around telling people, this is what I do. But it truly becomes, in a way, real when others tell your story. When you're just passing by the grocery store and they ask you, have you heard about Clash of Arrows? And they don't even know who you are. And I think that's one of the best feelings I've gotten, is when your story has gone through the telephone poles, through everyone, and then they can come back to you, and they have no idea who you are. And I think that's a key thing I just want to try and continue doing this year, is letting others tell your story and it growing and growing.
Love it. Mike, what about you, man? Bring it home.
I think one of the biggest things is people need to sell stuff they really believe in. And it has to be something like, you know, people come to my house, they try to sell me solar. And I'm like, oh, cool. Do you own or do you rent? And they go, I own. I go, do you have solar on your house? No. Get the hell out of my house. Like, seriously. Like, you know, or when I was in the car business, someone, you know, you're working for Honda and you're driving a Toyota. I mean, come on, man. You know what I mean? If you you got to be congruent. You got to believe in your product. And if the product is you, cool. You know, that's a big thing. I see too many people trying to sell something they don't truly believe in, and they don't have that conviction, not even confidence. You have to, if you want to be successful, you have to go way past confidence into that conviction, where it's in your core being, where, no, this, if I don't sell this to you, I'm doing you a disservice. Seriously. You know what I mean? Like,
no, bang on. You know what? That's such a key point. Is actually probably most of my clients, I get so excited about the stuff that they're doing when we're selling it. I'm like, I want to buy their stuff. Like, once we get into it, I'm like, this is cool. And I have to be careful, because I could probably just spend all my money just buying my client's product. I'll be broke, right? And you know, and that's part of it, is like, you know, for me as a coach, is last year I hired about 3 or 4 different coaches for all different areas of my life, from golf to spiritual to business, because I believe in that. I believe in having somebody look at the stuff you're doing objectively, so that I can tell somebody, you know what, do this. What are you going to do? Like just being able to say, let's look at this. And I think as we're closing off here, my big goal for 2016 was, as we did our strategic planning in December, I just said, you know, there's a lot of people out there, and I think that we get caught in that prejudgment mode where we start to invent ways that people aren't going to buy it. And it's not about me selling. Like, if I'm selling to you, Mike, I'm not selling you, trying to get something from you and exchanging. I want to look at your world. And then eventually we started, like, rather than me and you this way, we sort of end up this way, looking at the thing together, and we make a decision like, hey, should we do this? Now we're teammates. It's like, here's what I'm going to do. and your job is to do the work and give the money. If you're selling a car, it's like, let's get this car together. This is what we're doing. If Curtis selling salon, hey, let's do this and get people excited, get them enrolled in solving this thing that they've got. And that's sort of my realization this year is it's not about wanting something from them in exchange. It's about, let's solve this thing together. If we can find a way to solve it together, there's an exchange of goods and services for money. And that's and it's fun. It's so much fun to see people get excited about making the purchase. Like their eyes light up when they're like, can I have that? They see the change in reality they're going to create, or they're going to buy, they're going to own the thing. And if we don't influence that, if we don't help them buy the thing, then shame on us, right? Because it's our, I know, like Chet Holmes, one of my favorite guys, he says, it's your moral obligation to influence people to make a decision, because most people suck at making decisions. It's hard to make decisions. Help them make decisions. As long as you're not selling garbage or a lemon, right? And you feel good about what you're offering, help people buy it. And that's what I would leave with. Anybody else have any questions or anything before we shut off the recording? That's kind of what I want to close with. Awesome. So I'm going to stop the recording. We just keep hanging out. So done.